Girl, some of y'all are not broke because you're buying too much stuff. You're broke because you keep trying to buy your way out of problems that actually need a system. Or a boundary and a little preparation, or somebody else to do the dang on job. And listen, I know somebody just clutched their Amazon cart. Stay with me though, because we've talked about saving money over here. We've talked about where our paychecks go. We've talked about what I stopped buying when money got tight. But this conversation here is different. I want to talk about the purchases that nobody really warned you about. The money that you spend because you're running late. The money that you spend because you don't know how to say, girl, I love you, but I cannot afford that. And yes, the money you waste trying to prove that you can do every single thing yourself. Because one thing I had to learn quick in life, and thank the Lord, thank God I learned it early, is that getting good with money is not just about learning how to save. You have to understand why you spend. And baby, sometimes your bank statement is not a budget. It's a psychological evaluation with transaction numbers. Now, I know I'm all up in your business, and if you're new here, my name is Dr. Nina. I'm a licensed psychologist, full professor, wife, and mama, and a woman who has had seasons where the money was moneying, and seasons where I needed every single dollar to sit down somewhere and act like it had some sense in home training. And with the cost of living right now, please, I don't care how much you're making. You can go in the grocery store for chicken, eggs, maybe not eggs right now. We know what's up with that. Lettuce either. And emotional support, and still somehow come outside $137 poorer. So this ain't gonna be one of those conversations where I tell you never to travel. I just came back from Mexico. I ain't gonna tell you to never eat out, cancel all the subscriptions, wash aluminum foil, or even sit in the dark until retirement. I've told y'all I like a comfortable life. Stable life. And I want you to have that too. Comfort. Yeah. But I've learned that real financial comfort comes from knowing where to spend, where to stop spending, and where spending a little bit of money strategically can actually give you more of your life back. Oh yeah, we getting into that today. So I want you to tell me in the comments, what is one thing you know you keep wasting money on? And if you don't know what to say, just type, my money has been unsupervised, or the receipts know too much. Because today we're getting into 6 purchases that might quietly be keeping you broke. And some of them don't look irresponsible at all. In fact, you might be thinking you're being smart with your money. That's exactly why we need to talk about them. Let's get into it.
Dr. Nina, the girl next door, beautiful brown baby doll.
1, stop buying things because you're too disorganized to realize you already own them. Okay, this first one, I'm coming out swinging. It's gonna hurt a little bit, okay? Some of us are not shopping. We are rebuying our own belongings. Packing for vacation? Buy another travel charger. Can't find the tape? Order more tape. And somewhere in your house is a community of 14 little travel chargers, 37 batteries, and enough tape to open up a small UPS franchise. And this here is bigger than clutter. There's actually something called inventory distortion. When we don't have an accurate sense of what we already have, we make purchasing decisions based on what we can remember or see, not what we actually own. And girl, if your house has drawers, bins, closets, a garage, and that one cabinet that nobody wants to discuss, or that little drawer where, all your little stuff go in, your brain is not keeping inventory. This gets expensive in ways we don't notice. You buy groceries while food in your refrigerator is expiring 3 inches behind the mustard. You keep replacing little household things because they're never in the same place. You have 3 subscriptions doing basically the same thing, because every company has quietly been pimping you for $8.99 since 2005. And none of those purchases feel financially irresponsible. That's the trap. $10 here, $20 there, another $14.99 because I know we have one, I just can't find it. That's usually how you say it too, huh? Baby, that is a fee. You're paying a disorganization tax. And I don't know about y'all, I pay enough taxes. I'm tired. So what do? Before you restock anything that you buy regularly, shop your own house first and give all your backups one home. One place for toiletries, one place for cleaning refills, one place for extra cords and batteries. Because if you can't find it when you need it, financially, you may as well not own it. I've actually paid for people to come in and help organize, and it was a pretty penny, but it was money well spent. Now we know where all of our extras are. We know where our chargers are. We know where all that stuff is. And before that next big household run, take 10 minutes and check the freezer or assign that to somebody. Also the pantry and the cabinets, because some of y'all don't need groceries. You need to defrost that mysterious meat that you've been avoiding eye contact with since February. 2, stop buying back the time that you refuse to protect. Now this one used to sneak up on me because we talk all day about budgeting and our money. Nobody talks enough about budgeting our time. And when you have no time margin, your wallet becomes your emergency contact. You didn't plan dinner, so now you're paying for the food, the delivery fee, service fee, and the tip. And apparently somebody's college tuition. You left something until the last minute? Okay, boo-boo the food. So now it's expedited shipping. And don't worry, I've been boo-boo too. Don't. You didn't put something on the calendar, so now you're paying the late fee. You waited too long to book the flight, the hotel, the appointment, and suddenly you're paying the girl you knew about this premium. Now listen, I know life be doing what it do. Okay, I have a child, a husband, career, and business. There are weeks where my calendar looks like somebody lost the fight with a pack of highlighters. But this ain't about being perfectly organized. But there is a real psychological phenomenon here. When we're under time scarcity, our attention narrows to solving the problem immediately. Your brain says, I do not care what this costs, fix it. And convenience will gladly take your credit card. The problem isn't one emergency DoorDash order. It's when your entire lifestyle is built around financially rescuing yourself from your own exhaustion. Because some of the money that you're trying to budget better, you could keep it if your life had a little bit more margin. So here's the fix. Find your 3 most reoccurring emergencies. Maybe it's food, maybe it's last minute travel. Maybe it's forgetting someone's birthday and panic ordering a bunch of birthday gifts at 11:58 p.m. Then build a tiny system around those 3 things first. Not a new planner, not a 27-tab spreadsheet, a system. Put 3 emergency meals in the freezer. Set the reminder 2 weeks earlier. Keep the birthday gift stash. Automate the things you keep forgetting, because sometimes the most expensive purchase that you'll make all month is the one you made because you ran out of time to make a better decision. And speaking of time, there's another money mistake I had to learn as I got busier. Thinking doing everything myself was automatically a cheaper option. Oh, we about to go there. 3, stop refusing to outsource because you think doing it yourself is always cheaper. Now, this one thing really changed my life when I started making a real salary. Because when I finally had a little bit more money, I didn't automatically think, oh, what can I buy? I started thinking, what can I stop doing? Okay, I keep trying to tell y'all, I am energetic. I do a lot of stuff, but I am lazy by choice. And this is not because I think I'm too good to do it. Nope. Baby, I can clean. I can grocery shop. I can handle all my own business. Capability was never the issue, but capacity was. My husband taught me this big time. Okay, thank you, Sean. And this is where I think a lot of women limit themselves financially. We've been taught that if we're physically capable of doing something ourselves, paying someone else to do it is automatically wasteful. But baby, your time has a cost too. And I learned that with my salary. I started strategically outsourcing things that were eating up the hours that I could never get back. Because here's what nobody tells you. Outsourcing doesn't just save the 2 or 3 hours you're not doing the task. It can save the mental setup before, the recovery after it, the procrastination around it, and the 12 other little things you buy, because you're tired of doing everything yourself. Now there's the real math. And I know somebody out there saying, now Nina, I'm trying to save money. I hear you. I'm not telling you to outsource your entire existence or hire somebody to chew your food. I'm saying identify your bottleneck. What's the thing that you keep doing that's taking a disproportionate amount of your time and your energy, and it could reasonably be done by somebody else? For me, one of those things is absolutely cleaning, which I love cleaning down. But that's why I'm excited to partner with today's sponsor, Homeaglow. Now, I love me some Homeaglow. I've actually gifted cleanings to family members from them. And this time I had an amazing cleaner that I booked through them. And when I tell you she came into my house and cleaned top to bottom, I couldn't even tell she was here though. Baby, that feeling of being able to wake up in a clean house that you did not spend all your time cleaning. Luxury, peace, a minor spiritual experience. And what I really love is that I'm not spending my free time or my Saturday cleaning the whole house while also being a mommy, wife, and professor and clinician, a creator and a business owner. Too much. That time goes back into my actual life. I can work on something that only I can do. I can spend time with my folks, my family. I can rest without staring at a baseboard thinking, you know what? Don't start with me today. I've loved having that kind of help so much that, as I've said, I've been able to gift cleanings to my family. Because once you understand what getting a few hours of your life back feels like, that is a gift. Now, Homeaglow is a top-rated service platform that makes it really easy to find and schedule a cleaner in your area. You choose your date, time, and how long you want your cleaning to be. And you can actually look through available cleaners, their photos, experience, and reviews before you choose, which I appreciate because I want to know who all is trying to step up into my house. Y'all know how I feel about that. Now, their cleaners are background checked. They go through a certification process and maintain a 4.8 star average rating on the platform. And 100% of the cleaning fees and tips goes directly to your cleaner. And if you're someone like me that doesn't want cleaning to become another thing that you have to remember to arrange every single time, their Forever Clean membership lets you book unlimited cleanings, and it's starting at $19 an hour. It saves you $30 an hour on future cleanings and is backed by Homeaglow's happiness guarantee. So take home cleaning off your plate this summer by using Homeaglow. Scan the QR code here or click the link in the description to get your first 3 hours of cleaning for only $19. And this is why I want us to stop looking at every expense as simply, could I technically do it myself? Ask the better question, friend. What does paying for this give back to me? Because the best outsourcing gives you back your time, energy, attention, or access to the opportunities you couldn't pursue because you were too busy doing everything yourself. And sometimes that return, it's worth more than the receipt. 4, stop buying things to avoid having an uncomfortable conversation. Now, while we're getting our money together, some of y'all don't need another budgeting app. You need a boundary and about 8 seconds of real courage. Because there's a category in your banking statement, and it's called I didn't want it to be awkward. You didn't want to tell your friends that restaurant was out of your budget. You didn't want to be the only person who said no to the group trip. You agreed to split the bill evenly when you only had one entree and a water. And somebody across the table apparently ordered the whole left side of the menu. And now somebody got the nerve to say, it's just easier if we split it. Is it, Keisha? Because all I've been drinking is tap water. But this goes deeper than dinner. We pay for things we don't want. We financially rescue people when we can't afford to. We keep picking up the cost because we become the one who has it. And we avoid calling about incorrect charges, negotiating deals, canceling services, even asking somebody to pay us back because financial conversations make us uncomfortable. But here's the psychological piece. Human beings are highly motivated to avoid social rejection and conflict. And sometimes we'll accept a very real financial loss to avoid a few minutes of emotional discomfort, which means some of your money leaks aren't spending problems. They're people-pleasing problems with a debit card attached. Oh, and I had to learn this too. Having more money doesn't mean that everybody around you automatically gets access to it. Boop, your income can increase. Your boundaries need to still come along with you. So here's your fix. You want to start practicing what I call financially complete sentences. I can't do that this month. I'll be paying separately. I can contribute this much. That's not in my budget right now. No 12-minute TED Talk, no bank statements, no PowerPoint presentations entitled Why I Can't Attend the Cabo Trip this year. Because every time you spend money just to avoid disappointing somebody else, you're choosing their temporary comfort over your long-term financial comfort. And that there is a purchase we need to stop making. 5, stop buying the right to feel like you're doing better than you are. I'm sorry. And this one is going to make us all get a little bit more quiet in the room. Because sometimes we don't buy things because we can afford them. We buy things because we need to feel like we're finally doing well. And listen, I understand this one, especially if you came from not having much. Worked your butt off. You finally got a real salary and thought, oh, I can have nice things now. Yes, you can. But there's a difference between enjoying your progress and needing every purchase to prove that you've made progress. Because that's how you end up with the upgraded car, the beautifully furnished home, the trips, the memberships, the monthly payments, and absolutely no room to breathe. And the sneakiest version of this right now, making the monthly payment the price in your head. That couch isn't $184 a month. That couch is $4,400. That trip is in 4 easy payments of $600. Baby, you went on a $2,400 vacation. Now, financing is not automatically bad. Payment plans are not automatically bad. Sometimes they make perfect financial sense. But psychologically, breaking a large price into smaller payments can reduce what researchers call the pain of paying. The purchase feels cheaper. Your checking account says, oh, that's only $89. Meanwhile, you got 17 little $89 charges running around your bank account like toddlers. And I know how they run because I got one. And that's how people with great incomes can feel like they never have any money. Their future paychecks are already spoken for. Here's the fix for you. For non-essential purchases, use the full price test. Before you finance it, split it or pay in 4. Say the full number out loud. Then I want you to ask, if I had to hand over the entire amount today, would I still believe this is worth that much money? You don't necessarily have to pay for it all today, but I need your brain to know what you actually bought, because you deserve the nice stuff, but you also deserve something that doesn't photograph nearly as well. Financial breathing room. And baby, peace looks good in that house too. 6, stop buying things when what you really want is to feel different. Now this one is the one I want you to watch, because emotional spending doesn't always look like somebody crying with 6 bags in the mall. Sometimes it looks real responsible. You're overwhelmed with your life, new planner, feeling disconnected from yourself, whole new wardrobe. Career feels stagnant, another course. House feels chaotic. Suddenly you've decided that the solution is $600 worth of acrylic little clear see-through containers. Baby, the cereal didn't ask to move. And sometimes these purchases are great, but there's a specific type of purchasing that happens when we're in transition, when we've disappointed ourselves, overwhelmed, or just sick of how life currently feels. We don't necessarily want the thing. We want evidence that something is changing. Ooh. That's why a bad week can suddenly have you online at 1:13 a.m. buying supplies for your whole new life. Ma'am, go to sleep. Tasha, just go to bed. We will discuss becoming a Pilates girl in the morning. And there's real psychology underneath this. When we're emotionally activated, immediate relief becomes more valuable to the brain than a future consequence. That purchase creates anticipation, possibility, a little dopamine. For a moment, you don't feel stuck anymore. But when that package gets there, your actual problem is sometimes still sitting there staring at you. So here's my rule. Any non-essential purchase that comes with the energy of, I deserve this, I'm starting over, I'm sick of everything, this is going to get my life together. I always tell y'all wait 72 hours. And not because you can't have it, but because I want you to separate the purchase from the emotion. Then you come back and ask, do I still want this thing? Or did I just want to feel different when I bought it? And if you still want it, you've thought about it, and if it's your money, girl, buy your thing. We're not sitting in the dark eating beans out of a can just to prove that we're financially responsible. The goal of getting good with money is not to create a life where you never spend. It's creating a life where your spending is actually connected to your values, not constantly trying to rescue you from how you feel. Because in this economy, we cannot control every price. We can't control what groceries cost, what insurance decides to do, or why everything suddenly needs a subscription. But we can get better at recognizing when we're buying a product and when we're actually trying to purchase peace, confidence, belonging, time, or a whole new life. And once you can tell the difference, baby, that's when your money starts staying home. So listen, sis, the goal is not to stop spending money. It's to stop spending money solving problems that it was never meant to fix. Sometimes you need a better system. Sometimes you need a doggone boundary. Sometimes you need to outsource. And sometimes, baby, you just need to put the car down and go to bed. All right, y'all, make sure that you comment, share this video with someone who can use it, and subscribe. And remember, keep your money supervised. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Love you much. Dr. Nina signing out. Peace.